A Love Website Guide 1. Chapter 1. Love Advice Website Info. The truth about love and sex experts. People should follow their instincts rather than apply some rules they learned in some psychobabble book about finding Mr. or Ms. Right. Wise man. There is no such thing as an expert in love, sex, or romance because everybody is self-conscious about it at one time or another. Every encounter is different, both with the same partner and with different ones. You have to be able to put the other person at ease and please them to some extent to get your pleasure out of it. Nobody can possibly be an expert in that across all possible scenarios. On top of that, physical look as with facial beauty and the tightness of the body figures into it heavily for both men and women. Every woman is insecure about her body and facial look. Anyone I've ever seen describing themselves as a sex expert did not have a great body or a beautiful face, so go figure. If you judge by the number of love and sex websites out there, almost everybody thinks they're an expert or they act like one because they took some nerdy courses given by some nerds somewhere and now they're supposedly certified as some wise person in matters of life and love, which is a lie and a laugh because you get wisdom in life and love in three basic ways, the least of which is book learning or listening to others. We were all born with intuitive wisdom given to us by our gods. Some of us will sit still long enough to contemplate ourselves as individuals away from all the cultural knowledge, propaganda, and wisdom of the world to discover what's really in our souls. This is the truest wisdom of all. As we live life in the real world with other people, the wise ones among us contemplate our experiences, and from that, we develop our standard on how the world operates and set rules of conduct for ourselves. We learn by reading books, sitting in a classroom listening to someone talk, watching TV, reading things on websites, etc. Of the three, the least effective is the last method because it's passive compared to the other two, which are an active living of your life. I started writing this book because I felt that both my intuitive wisdom and my experienced wisdom in life and love were different from any book I had ever read or anyone I had ever heard talk on the subject. We're all loners in our heads. Nobody really knows what anyone else is really thinking, but the system has put forth a kind of generic capitalist pop culture paradigm about how we should live our lives that you can easily pick up on if you watch the regular TV programs and commercials for a day or two, then read a few of the mainstream magazines. Compared to what I felt inside of me about my life, everything out there was a lie or at least a load of soppy bull. These psychobabble experts come out and right away they start off with the implicit assumption that monogamous love is the key to happiness and you necessarily need it to fulfill your life. They never breathe a word about hedonism, the desire for a lot of varied sexual experiences and the desire for transcendent experiences in general, or the desire for an individual to discover who he or she is and live to honor that as the unique creation of God's handiwork they are, which for some people is much more important than any relationship with any other person in life. All I've seen in the self-help love advice industries is one-dimensional people preaching a capitalist, monogamous, pseudo-Christian gospel with no inklings of contemplating their own lives to discover what's in there beyond the system view. I don't believe any person can be a great lover in the classical, undying, unconditional, romantic sense until and unless they're at a state of being where they understand themselves as individuals and know how to live every day to honor themselves in order to feel good about their lives first before they go off trying to love somebody else, which is very hard to do because we're so inherently self-centered. A big deception of society is the push to get you married quickly at a young age while you're still immature so that you can get stuck working a job to pay bills to raise a family, which will make you pacified and easy to control, rather than if you go off pursuing your own identity as an individual, living to honor that for a while before you decide to follow the family plan, if ever. The game is that the system subtly puts pressure on us to make us feel like inferior oddballs if we're not married or raising a family, and many people get so wrapped up in this societal pressure that they're neurotic wrecks, constantly worried that they will never meet this one great love that's supposed to transform their lives and be the entryway to live happily ever after. But it's a lie, because happiness comes from the power of one individual knowing their true identity and living to honor it by releasing their natural energy all the time. The system has a vested interest in promoting monogamy and family as the only key to happiness because It's easier to control people when they live like this rather than as bohemian free spirits doing what they feel like doing. They become eternal consumers and pacified working stiffs stuck on the system's treadmill of life. Man's true nature is to either pursue multiple casual sexual encounters, to have multiple wives, or to fantasize about sex with different women, but you rarely hear anyone breathe a word of it, especially all the married male love and sex experts who think the same thoughts in the privacy of their minds every other normal man does, which are sexual thoughts with a wide variety of women. If you claim you don't, then you're a liar, because all men are basically the same. There is no great chasm of differences among us. In marketing terminology, they call us mooks. Show them some tits and ass and they'll show up or buy, whatever your agenda is. We can't help who we are by virtue of the hormone testosterone coursing through our veins. Our society is so overwhelmed by this monogamy/family ideal that most of us can't even conceive of polygamy as part of a normal lifestyle, even though I think it's more natural than monogamy. To give you an example, there is a radio talk show host in our area where I live who I thought was a pretty liberal, down-to-earth, sensible guy, but when they were talking about polygamy one day, he starts spewing off how repulsive and foreign it is to him, when the truth is that he's constantly fantasizing about sexual encounters with different women like every other man. What's the big deal? If I want 5 wives and I can find 5 women who want to live with me, so what? But our society is so brainwashed against it that they won't even give a little bit in that area, much less legalize sex work, which is a natural state of affairs, for people to sell sexual services to others consentingly for money. It's never going to end, but you'll never hear our conventional love and sex experts tell you that going to a brothel is great for your health and great for your marriage because it relaxes the husband and puts less pressure on the wife to have sex with him, because judging by everything I've ever read on the subject, most married women, especially after they have a few kids, do not feel sexy and do not want to have sex with their husbands. But then you got Dr. Fat Ass, some guy on TV who thinks he's a wise man, chastising some guy for watching pornos, saying he's cheating on his wife and dishonoring all women everywhere as if he is so pure that he has never played with himself while fantasizing about some woman other than his wife. If you believe that, then you deserve this one-dimensional person and this psychobabble system they're feeding you with. We wonder why men cheat or dump their first wives after 20 years for a younger model. It's because they are violating their true natures by following society's brainwash. I wrote this book because I felt like an untamed free spirit and one of the few honest voices in the midst of this massive sea of conventional psychobabble I'm surrounded by. Why shouldn't other men feel what I feel? I'm not that different from the mold of the generic human male. It's just that they all let their balls get symbolically cut off by the system by going along with it without questioning it, while I was saying to myself that stuff they're telling me is not what I really feel in my soul. Whether you want to admit it or not, most of us are brainwashed sheeple, and the conventional psychobabble love and sex experts fit right in with this because they're brainwashed sheeple too, a part of the system feeding you the system line, earning their bread and status in the process as good system clones and the respected wise people of our society. There is no substitute for the intuitive wisdom you were born with, and experiencing different people and situations in life, then analyzing them to come to your own conclusions, rules, and commonalities. As a young man, I felt that everything I had read or learned up until about the age of 28 or so was either a lie or a bunch of one-dimensional system brainwash bull, which was not being honest from the primal core of a human being. I knew what I felt, knew it was different from the conventional psychobabble wisdom out there, and was aware enough to know that society brainwashes men to be schizophrenic about love and sex, promoting marriage, the work ethic and family values on the one hand, while subtly using sex in advertising to sell just about everything, but never addressing man's true nature simply and honestly. I knew that simply by being pure and primal the way I feel in my soul, I could offer original insights that I've never seen anyone else address before, and I could try to open your eyes to make you see the conventional psychobabble bunch are feeding you a bunch of low-level garbage. You would do better to trust yourself, discover your true identity, then go back to following your true nature intuitively the way you did as a kid before the brainwash of the world got its hooks into you. I write about what I feel purely unbrainwashed by the world, while pretty well everybody else is brainwashed to some extent by something, playing the game of that lie of formal education called the field of psychology, which is a bunch of verbal diarrhea created out of thin air and the bull constantly piled on in order for these people to justify to themselves that they're creating more cutting-edge knowledge, but it's phony knowledge, aka crap. The truth is that despite all the hype and glitter, human nature has not changed in the past 3,000 years. We repeat the same things over and over again, yet with every generation, we act like naive bumpkins all over again because this is human nature. We all have to learn on our own through our own experiences, but one big problem in the modern world is the fact that many of us have given control of our lives to others out there masquerading as experts, particularly when it comes to matters of life, love, sex, and romance. We have somehow given control of our lives to a band of phony psychobabble self-help experts who have exploded on the scene in the past 20 years or so. If you don't believe me, watch the TV news and talk shows for a while. Some psychobabblists even have their own shows, and that's all they do 5 days a week. If they're so valuable and wise, why didn't we miss them for the previous several thousand years before this? They all parrot each other with their identical mechanical one-liners about life and love without having the guts to be primally honest and state it from the heart. Very few people understand the true essence of the human soul and know how to live a great life in a simple, systematic, intuitive way day by day. Not too many people have discovered the inner standard that lives inside of each of us, which is made up of our essences as individual human beings and our natural potential store of energy, which we must release every day to an intense level in all its ways if we are to feel good, to great, and enjoy this ride of finite time known as life. We must release inspired, hedonistic, aesthetic and loving energy constantly all the time to an intense level if we are to feel good about ourselves in a general way, feel sexy, as all the phony cool people like to say over and over again on the entertainment tabloid shows, and have the true, unselfish desire to pass our love on to others. My central thesis is that most of us in Western society are not tuned into ourselves as individuals because we've been so massively brainwashed by capitalist values, pop culture, entertainment, religion, patriotism, home decor, etc., and because of this, we're not in harmony with our true natures, so we're psychologically, spiritually, and aesthetically screwed up, although almost no one will ever admit it to anyone else nor even to themselves. Because we're so out of touch with our true, pure essences as human beings, we're a bunch of self-centered phonies acting compassionate and good. The reason I know this is because on a societal level, if we were really as good and compassionate as we all claim to be, all the world's poverty and homelessness would be solved, but as it stands now, we spend more money on hair color every year than we give to help people less fortunate than ourselves, so don't go faking it, pretending you're more noble, kind, loving, and generous than you actually are in the grand scheme of things. See yourself as you really are without rose-colored glasses on. If you had any sense and compassion about yourself, you wouldn't do something as tacky and silly as coloring your hair and instead use the money to help some poor kid somewhere. But as it stands now, everywhere I look I see brainwashed people coloring their hair because they think they're worth it, because some clever advertising heads have fooled them into thinking it makes them look cool, sexy and glamorous, but it really makes you look like a tacky brainwashed clone. Many of us do not have the capacity to be loving in an unconditional, free, pure way, so we pursue the capitalist version of love, which is a self-centered, conditional kind of love based on reciprocity, aka what have you done for me lately, as opposed to loving the other person for who they are, having faith that they are good people in their souls regardless of how they're acting right now. It's about making allowances for human failings, which we all are and have, human failings. I'm not totally down on psychobabble. It might have some mild inspirational value, but being the independent type I am, I generally feel that my God gave me all the intuitive wisdom I will ever need to understand my life when He created the essence that is me. I admit that some of this book is psychobabble because I had to try to get it all, but I wrote it from my own point of view, injecting my own ideas into my mechanical parroting of the generic one-liners about love, sex, and romance that you'll find in any one-trick pony book on the subject. If you think I'm speaking the truth, stick with this book for your knowledge and inspiration, but if you want psychobabble, Feel free to check out the world's collective store of it all gathered together in the following list of psychobabble websites, which is a chore in itself, to have to click a mouse several times and get past all the ads before you get to the specific article you're looking for, which all wastes time for me, which is why I can't be bothered anyway. Never mind that I think it's all bull. I'm not even curious about what they say anymore because I know it will be generic bull, not something fresh, well written and original. Most so-called psychobabble experts are simply not honest or deep enough to say what they really feel. They just stick with the same, safe, generic one-liners about talking more, listening, being nice and taking romantic walks together on the beach. I've encountered something like 100 or so psychobabble love and sex experts in my travels through the media and on the internet. Many look like they don't have free, easygoing sex with anyone else even though they're supposed experts on the subject. In order to be lovable, you should at least look attractive. Some of these so-called love and sex experts just don't look like they're getting great love or sex in their lives. They just don't inspire that sense within me that they are sexually desirable when I see them for the first time. In my opinion, many of these so-called experts are introverted, ivory tower types who have never been out of their comfort zones, not people who have gone out on the streets looking for transcendent experiences like I have in my attempts to reach earthly nirvana, and I found it too. It's called cocaine, rush, and ecstasy, and a willing partner who likes to get high too, i.e., sex and drugs. No conventional psychobabbleist will ever tell you how greatly cocaine enhances the sexual experience, probably because none of them have ever done it, but to me, it's one of the few great things in the experience of life. And if you listen to some phony expert tell you that all drugs are bad and don't enhance the sexual experience, too bad for you that you've been brainwashed by the lies and will leave this earth having never experienced one of its greatest gifts of bliss. I've said my piece, but it's not my place to tell you what to think. You be the judge. Here are 500 or so websites, and there are more up ahead in the dating advice and sex advice sections. Spend as much time on them as you want, but in the end you'll see that I'm right. We all have an inborn intuitive wisdom within us that we can access if we're enlightened enough to separate ourselves from the brainwash of our society, find it, listen to it, then analyze it. But in my opinion, most of us are brainwashed into thinking that there are actual experts out there who know something more than we do about our lives, love, sex, and romance. In this book, I attempt to give over my natural wisdom, what I truly feel about something, unbrainwashed by the world, but I also mix the usual psychobabble in with it because I had to in order to keep my integrity in writing the best and most complete book ever written on the subject. It is also a roadmap for all matters pertaining to love, sex and romance, which I believe is its true strength, to offer you resources for everything from the legal aspects of marriage to escort websites. Love books at the library? Hashtag 306.709-81, love. Hashtag 613.96, sex. Hashtag 646.76-78, dating. HQ 801, love and sex. Be wary of love advice bull selling for a fee. Most love websites are a mix of common sense information and meaningless chatter. Some are there for fun and don't take themselves too seriously. Others are full of psychobabble and verbal diarrhea. Some are fronts to try to sell you something like a book or set of tapes. Check out the sales pitch at winbacklove.com. It goes on and on. You know there's something inauthentic when someone tries to sell you something too hard. Anybody who has real wisdom would have the self-respect to not try to oversell. My attitude is that beyond this book, everything else out there is either convoluted, full of scattered, meaningless filler, not comprehensive, or simply bull with a hidden agenda to sell you something. I pretty well covered it all here, but if you want to explore what others are into, it's your prerogative as a free being. I saw one website where the guy was selling an ebook for $63. There's no great secret in the love game that's worth even $25 except for this book because it covers everything. Some other guy was selling a workshop about how to pick up girls for $3,000. The truth is that it's all primal. A girl decides whether she likes you even before she talks to you. If you have charm and wit, it might change her from a nay to a tentative yeah, but pickup lines don't work for very long. Girls all want the same thing, the proverbial alpha male, a strong-looking guy. All the bullshit techniques in the world don't mean a damn thing. The truth is that it's all hype. Everybody is in the dark, including me. Your God gave you intuition. Yours is as good as anyone else's. The only reason I can offer to sell this book without sacrificing my self-respect is that I know I'm offering bona fide hardcore knowledge about things most ordinary people never think of, all the way from sex robots to gay hangouts, and I even offer bona fide helpful stuff like the addresses of domestic violence shelters. If it was just a psychobabble book without resources like most of them are, I would feel ashamed within myself for trying to sell this garbage and pretending to be an expert on it. Magazine love articles websites. blogs.newyorktimes.com. l.com/life-love/sex-relationships. guardian.co.uk/life-and-style. marieclaire.com/sex-love/men. nerve.com/advice. psychologytoday.com/topics. sexualintelligence.org, monthly. thefword.org.uk. Pictures of couples/photos of couples. famous-couple.com, pictures and profiles of famous couples from the arts, sciences, politics and entertainment. mark-lucascio.fr/photo-couple/photo-couple.html, photos de couple sunt non poses. photographs-mariages.eu/photo-couple-index/index-1.html. flickr.com/photos/tags/couple. cosmopolitan.com. Chapter 2. Love Websites 1. The biggest love website is liveabout.com/relationships-4145432. Many articles. thoughtcatalog.com/category/romance, stories in several romance categories. thoughtcatalog.com/category/romance. facebook.com/thoughtcatalog. pinterest.com/thoughtcatalog. aarp.org/home-family/sex-intimacy, lots of articles. aarp.org/home-family/sex-intimacy. aarp.org/home-family/sex-intimacy/your-marriage. aarp.org/home-family/dating/relationship-advice. selfdevelopmentsecrets.com/category/relationships, some love articles, mostly articles about life in general. If you feel messed up, try some of these articles like the happiness ones. Chapter 3. Love Websites 2. Love blog websites. You can pick up insights by reading about other people writing about their love lives. Some of these blogs aren't all about love. They're people commenting about their lives. relationships.blog-city.com. ahirtadai.com. and they lived happily ever after.com. angelarose.com. archives.his.com/smartmarriages. chamsensualswedding.blogspot.com. badmanbadplace.com. blog.angelove.org. blog.kclub.com. bloghotel.org/lovelylove. brian-o'shaughnessy.com/blog. chat.lovingaou.com. clickfx.net/loveblog/index.php. cpluv.com, computer love. drhelen.blogspot.com. dr-love.com. education-matters-in-love.blogspot.com. epicureanglorious.blogspot.com. flavoroflove.blogspot.com. iamlove.blogspot.com. ichigo86.blogspot.com. infosthetics.com. journey-on.com/laura/lannylog.htm. keepingromancealive.blogspot.com. keemaandjames.blogspot.com. lilblogguy.blogspot.com. love.blog.ba. love.com. loveadvice.blogspot.com, loveblog.in, lovecoachblog.com, love-gay-sex.blogspot.com, lovunsforever.blogspot.com, loving-me-always.blogspot.com, loving-you-wholeheartedly.blogspot.com, lukefordrelationshipblog.blogspot.com, medmark.org, go to love blog. members.lovingaou.com, Love Talk Forums reinag.blogspot.com/20040/07/marriage.html, myjourenniemedestiny.blogspot.com, petitanglaze.com, relationship-advice-by-nancy.blogspot.com, relationship-advice-forum.blogspot.com, revolutionoflove.com, revolutionoflove.stblogs.org, rosie.com/blog, schillersnewyork.com, searchforlove.blogspot.com, shannonlove.blogspot.com, sharethelove.blogsome.com, spaces.msn.com/lovemedaisy25girl, technoworthy.com/blog/love, tenderlovemaking.com, thelloveblog.com, troubled-diva.com, trueloveandramainceisallive.blogspot.com, truthfulcorrespondence.blogspot.com, tve.org, wetalksexblog.com, whatlydude.com, women.timesonline.co.uk, yourtruematch.com/relationship_advice_news_blog, Intense Love website / Intense Relationship websites. Intense Love gives and gives. Intense relationships are ones where the channels of communication are open wide. They talk about everything. abscsuality.com, answers.yahoo.com, Intense Love. aplaceofhope.com/intenserelationship.html, best-love-poems.com, brokencontrollers.com/intense-love-mature-old-senior-T79694101.php, brothermichael.org.uk/resources/attraction.htm, coalhardcash.com/2011/02/ups-downs-and-intense-love, emotionalaffairrecovery.com/tag/intense-relationship, experienceproject.com/groups/love-giving-women-intense-pleasure, ezinarticles.com, what makes a man feel intense love for a woman, facebook.com/pages/intense-love, glamour.com, super intense new relationship, helium.com/items/1457286-intense-soul-made-love, kissemadaily.com/intense-love, lovemakingSecrets.blog.com, loveromancerelationship.com/creating-intense-attraction-with-a-man, lveshak.org, lushstories.com, psychologytoday.com/tag/intense-love, quotesforlove.blogspot.com/2009/12/intense-love-poem.html, relationship-problems-tips.com, searchquotes.com/search/intense_love, talkaboutmarriage.com, insane love websites, agelesslove.com, answers.psychcentral.com/relationship-sam-going-insane-because-of-this-relationship, beliefnet.com/quote/love-a-temporary-insanity.aspx, cosmopolitan.com/sex-love/relationship-advice, datingish.com/755823292/the-appeal-of-crazy-relationships, dearcupid.org/question/I'm-in-love-with-a-person-that-drives.html, dearcupid.org/question/it's-for-me-to-still-love-this.html. Examiner.com/article/what-men-don-want-to-avoid-driving-husband-insane. Experienceproject.com/dreams/relationships/insane-love-interest/35961. EasyNarticles.com, why does love drive people crazy? Insaneforlove.com. LoveMeALoveStory.wordpress.com. PersonalityPage.com/html/relationships.html. SadloveEpoemsandquotes.com/temporaryinsanity.html. Self.com. Selfgrowth.com. vanityandansanity.wordpress.com/tag/relationships. womens-health.com/board/relationships/19312-love-driving-me-insane.html. Love tips websites. art-of-lovemaking.com. EasyNarticles.com, love tips. GetRomantic.com. howtoselfhelp.org/lovemaking-tips.htm. howtoselfhelp.org/romantic-bedroom-ideas.htm. howtoselfhelp.org/sensual-massage-tips.htm. indiansutras.com. intimatecollection.net. lovemakingpositions.info. personallifemedia.com, love tips. playintimate.com/love_tips.php. real-dating-tips.com. sex2lovemaking.com, book for sale. stevepavlina.com/blog/2010/08/dream-lovemaking. youtube.com, lovemaking. Love search engines/romance search engines. lovecompass.com. Chapter 4. Love websites 3. Dating idea websites. foryourdate.com, foryourdate, provides a list of date ideas, places to go for special occasions for couples to keep a romantic relationship. atlantadatingideas.com, Atlanta Dating Ideas, provides a variety of dating ideas for singles in the Atlanta, Georgia area. getonowoo.com, get to know you questions and conversation starters, a collection of get to know you questions, icebreakers and conversation starters. loveatsg.com, loveatsg, site aims to be the largest couple community in Singapore by allowing couples to share dating ideas and events that are suitable for couples. supersinglymixers.com, super single mixers, events for Los Angeles and Pasadena singles age 40 to 59 including innovative dances, dinners, wine tastings, and volunteer groups. thetatebank.moonfruit.com, Provo Date Ideas, helps provide singles in Provo the best dating ideas possible. thetateguy.co.uk, The Date Guy, a London-based dating blog reviewing great London date ideas. $30datenight.com, $30 Date Night, date night reviews, date ideas and relationship advice for dating advice websites. kiss.com. beloved.net. anewmode.com, A New Mode, expert dating tips and relationship advice for women. ca.askmen.com/dating/Kurt Smith, single guy's opinion, Ask Men, offers views on a variety of dating topics. coachmarcy.com, Coach Marcy, life coach specializing in dating. datingessentials.com, Dating Essentials, Canadian dating coach Katarina Spawak offers free articles and datingprofilewriters.com, datingprofilewriters.com, offers a service to create an online dating profile. don'tdatehimgirl.com, Don't Date Him Girl, find profiles of men who are alleged cheaters, articles on dating. everydaybetterliving.com/understanding_women, everyday better living, understanding women. forbeginners.info/dating, dating for beginners, articles exploring many aspects of dating. freebiesdating.com, freebies dating, free advice detailing the essential basics of dating that encourage confidence when meeting the opposite sex. Lovesickfools.com, Lovesickfools, offers articles on dating. Loviavictory.com, Love Victory, author and speaker. OnlineDatingBook.co.uk/blog, everyone's guide to online dating. AmericasDatingCoach.com, PattyFeinstein.com, America's Dating Coach, Singles Advice for Finding Love by Patty Feinstein. SacredLove.com, Sacred Love, founder Karina Kittles Karsten's matchmaking and relationship enhancement services and tools. Sharpman.com/issue02/article/living/dating/top tips/toptips.html, Sharp Living, Top 10 Tips from Women to Get the First Date You Want. Singleness.org, Purposeful Singleness, join other single Christians in their journey of living purposeful and meaningful lives for Jesus Christ. SurpriseForYourLove.com, surprise for your love, share and find ideas for presents or things to do with the one you love. Swingingheaven.co.uk/advice, advice for swingers, information and advice for people that swing, covering sexual health, single men and clubs. Find romance and relationship groups at groups.yahoo.com/neo/dir/1600083763. Lots of online groups. Love stories at unshackled.org or youtube.com then Unshackled Stories. I heard some love stories that span a lifetime on this Christian channel. Free ebooks at globalgreyebooks.com/category/ebooks/sexuality-and-relationships.html. They're free, easy to download, some look useful to me.